Winter has arrived. Even though it's chilly outside, it is cozy and warm inside. And you know what that means? We need to grab our hot chocolate or hot toddy, whatever it is you drink, and our favorite cozy board games. That's why I've made this video. That's right. For 2025, I have curated 7 must-have cozy board games just for you. Howdy and welcome back. I'm Mike, your board gaming every dude, and these are the cozy board games that will keep you warm this winter. What is a cozy board game? Well, there's no official definition, but here's what I think of. Can I put on BBC's Pride and Prejudice and cozy up in my favorite cardigan while playing it? It might be cozy. Is it small enough to fit on my coffee table, yet large enough for me to still appreciate all that wonderful art? Is it something simple enough to learn and simple enough to play that I can relax while playing the game? It might be a cozy board game. Can I play it with my best friend or all by myself and enjoy it just the same? It might be cozy. All of the games here fit those criteria. And also, as usual, I give priority to games that have a strong solo mode. Also, I wanted them to be affordable, so all 7 of these games are under $50 retail. Of course, I would not have any of these cozy, adorable games if it weren't for my local game store and the sponsor of this video, Cape Fear Games. See how I did that little bridge there? What do we call that? A transition? Smooth. Anyway, Cape Fear Games. They're based in Wilmington, North Carolina. If you're in the area, you must visit them. They've got an awesome free-to-use gaming library with, I think it's hundreds of games still. Also, since it's cozy, you can grab yourself a coffee or hot chocolate. But if you're going to buy board games, they have a huge selection. If you're into disc golf, they've got that. They've got some Kickstarter games. They've got trading card games and super cool staff. If you'd like to buy any of the games in this video, you can actually click the link in the description below as well as the pinned comment. Select your games, and when you check out, use my code boardgames1, all one word, and that will nab you 20% off. They've got events running nearly every night, including a board game night. Right now it's on Thursdays, and they even do a board game convention every year called Board Games at the Beach. But enough about them, you're here for the games. Let's check out our first one. Harley, slide it over. Say hi, Harley. That's right, good job, buddy. Okay, back to work. Oh my goodness. Sagrada. This is a 1 to 4 player game. We've got a designer, Adrian Adamescu and Daryl Andres. We've got an artist, Peter Woken. I hope I said that right. Published by Floodgate Games. In the most abstract of the games in this video, and interestingly, cozy games do tend to lend themselves toward the abstract side, but you'll find some very nice thick themes in here. And theme is still present here in Sagrada, where you are a glass artisan. That's right, you are working to create, to restore beautiful stained glass windows. You do this by rolling dice and placing those dice to create patterns of stained glass. The patterns required shift from game to game as they're based on objective cards, and the patterns shift as you have a different pattern card that you randomly draw for each game. The person with the best pattern has the most points and wins the game. On your turn, you roll dice, then draft one of them onto your player board. It has to be placed in a same color, same number, or white space. It can't be next to the same number or the same color. You can also use tools to manipulate die you've already placed if you can pay the cost. After your second turn, the round ends. Any unused dice are placed on the round tracker. You create patterns to match one or more of the public goals and a private goal. After 10 rounds, the game ends. Highest score wins. Sagrada reminds me of like an artist's Sudoku. For solo play, your goal is to beat the opponent's score that you create with the discarded dice, the dice that you don't use. So essentially, it's a beat your own score even though you are in control to a degree of the score that you have to beat. You can learn it in about 10 minutes. Setup takes less than 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. And a solo game can take around 20 minutes. Only downside that I noticed is trying to keep track and make sure that you are not breaking any of the placement rules. But if you find that you did break a rule, there's an easy way to fix it. You just remove the dice from the board and from the game and keep going. Let's go to our next game. Harley, slide it over. Let's go to Japan. 1 to 4 players. We've got our designer, Josh Wood, our lead artist, Chaikov, among many others, and we've got it published by Eldorot Games. You get to play as a tourist in Japan, land of the sakura trees, which I think is the cherry blossom. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Over 13 rounds, you're going to be playing cards to create an itinerary for your vacation, Monday through Saturday. You get to pick all the sites between Kyoto and Tokyo that you want to see. Then at the end, after the 13th round, you get to actually go on your trip. And depending on how enjoyable and non-stressful it is, that's how many points you're going to gain. Person with the most points wins. On a turn, you draw cards and you place cards. You'll have 1 card left over that gets passed to the player on your right. Draw cards from the Kyoto or Tokyo deck. Then place 1 of them on a day of the week on your board. Each day will have favor tokens on them. When you place your 3rd card on any day, that day is full, and you check how many favorable icons for that day you have. You can also gain research tokens throughout the game. Use these to draw more cards, expanding your options. Once you finish the final round, you take your trip. Place trains anytime you travel between Tokyo and Kyoto. Then you go activity by activity, gaining or losing points based on how enjoyable or stressful your trip is. You'll be gathering bonuses for the highlight of the day that you chose, and you'll be managing morale. As I mentioned earlier, while this is a cozy game, I would say this is for more experienced players who are used to kind of intersecting mechanics and different game phases. But if you've had a few games under your belt or this theme just really appeals to you, I think you're really going to enjoy your trip to Japan. Solo game, it plays like a 2-player game where you do have an AI opponent and they largely gain points based on the cards that you pass to them. All right, let's go to our next game. Harley? Next up, we have Canvas. Canvas is a 1 to 5 player game. We've got our designer, Jeff Chin and Andrew Nerger. We've got the art by Luan Hun. We are published by Road to Infamy Games. In Canvas, we get to be painters, creating our very own gallery of 3 paintings. Game consists of rounds where you take a turn either to collect artwork or to create a painting. At the end of the game, you score your 3 paintings. Person with the most points wins. To collect an artwork, you select from a rotating display and pay the cost of the artwork by paying inspiration tokens. The leftmost art piece is always free. The art you collect may come with inspiration tokens that you use later to buy more art. Once you have 3 or more pieces of art, you can use that to create a painting. Choose 3 artworks, layer them on top of each other, and then score points based on your scoring conditions for this game. The game ends once every player has made 3 paintings. The highest score wins. To play solo, you can play against the AI player Vincent, who basically works to just get in your way by removing inspiration tokens and paintings that you might want. Or you can play the beat your own score mode where you have control of all the artwork. There are scenarios as well, which is super cool, but from what I see of them, they lean mostly toward the multiplayer side. If you've played them solo, let me know. I wouldn't call this a gateway game exactly, but it could be. It could be. It definitely flirts just a little bit with abstract and just a little bit with theme, landing somewhere in the middle, not quite sure which way it wants to go. It's easy to learn, can be hard to master. Shall we move to our next game? Harley? Flamecraft. This one is absolutely just adorable. Makes me want to get a little dragon onesie for my cat. So if you know of anything like that, feel free to send it to me. Would love to get one. We'll see if he wears it. Anyway, whatever. 1 to 5 player game. Designed by Manny Vega. Art by Sendara Tang. And published by cardboard alchemy. I would argue that Flamecraft is the most thematic of the games in this video. So, in this, you get to play as a dragon keeper, where you get to befriend all kinds of different artisan dragons and special dragons. You get to place them in shops where they then work to produce really cool things. You get to gather items, you get to cast an enchantment if necessary to make a shop even better. You're just trying to build up this little one-lane town into the coolest little place of shops to visit. On your turn, you can either visit a shop or cast an enchantment. When you visit a shop, you place your little dragon token on it. If there's already another player's token there, you have to pay a fee, then gain items from that shop. If you'd like, you can leave one of your dragons there to help on future turns. You can also fire up one of the dragons already there, which usually lets you gain items or other dragon friends, something like that. If you cast an enchantment, you have to pay the cost from items you've collected. Then choose the shop you'll enchant, permanently improving that shop for future visits. Make sure to gain the victory points. Keep playing until there are no cute little dragons in your artisan dragon deck, or until you run out of enchantments. Then tally up endgame bonuses to find out the winner. For solo play, you set it up and play it just like if it's a 3-player game. However, your opponents, you don't have an AI opponent that's actually gaining points. Instead, what the game does is it places dragons to get in your way, to make it more expensive, to gain certain things, or to make it impossible to place an item or to gather a dragon that you wanted. The cool thing that this game introduces, particularly for solo mode, is the achievement system. So each time you play, if you achieve a goal score, then you are able to unlock one of the achievements, which gets you a new card or some type of useful thing that you can use in your next games to make it more interesting, maybe a new shop. I would not pick this cozy game as my very first board game personally, because again, you've got kind of like Let's Go to Japan, where you've got intersecting mechanics. Once you learn it, it makes sense, and thematically it just flows easily. But if you're a mid-core board gamer, I think this might be just for you. It should be noted, this is the largest of them. It will take up your entire coffee table. Best start, I would argue, of any of the games in this list. Next game, Harley. Thank you, Harley. Cascadia. This is a 1 to 4 player game. We've got, I know the art is by Beth Sobel, who is known for Wingspan and several other games. Designed by Randy Flynn. We've got it published by Flat Out Games. Cascadia could be a new gamer's first game. That's right. So this could be played as the first game multiplayer or solo. Learn it in 5 to 10 minutes. It takes about 30 minutes or so for a solo play. We are building out a habitat in the North American Pacific Northwest. Each player starts with a habitat tile. On the table is a display of available new habitat tiles, each paired with a wildlife token. On your turn, you expand your habitat by drawing one paired tile and token. You place your tile adjacent to another, trying to expand the size of each of the 5 habitat types when possible. Next, you place your wildlife token on any valid tile, only 1 token per tile. You place them, trying to meet the unique objectives drawn for this game. Some tiles grant you nature tokens. You can always spend one to refresh the wildlife tokens on display, or to mix and match a tile and wildlife token of your choice. To play it solo, you play it honestly very similar to a multiplayer game with just a couple little rule changes. It is beat your own score, so for your first game, you're trying to hit a certain goal score that you set, and after that, you're trying to beat it. However, Cascadia includes an achievement system, and Flamecraft did too, but this one is on another level. I find this should be standard for solo games. I absolutely love their achievement system, so you can play just a little different each game for a unique challenge and get rewards. I would even say that this is an essential for solo gaming libraries. And this is from someone who had no desire. I looked at the box, it did not appeal to me at all. I looked at the theme, didn't appeal to me, didn't interest me. I only played it because I felt like I had to, and I'm so glad I did. This runs right in the middle between strong theme and abstract. Let's get tiny with our next game, Harley. Thank you, Harley. Let's build a fireplace. That's right, we've got tinder blocks here. So this is a 2 to 6 player game. However, you can play it solo very easily as there's a cooperative way to play. Designed by Rob Sparks, we've got art by Rory Muldoon, and it is published by Alley Cat Games. This is a simple dexterity game. It's basically reverse Jenga, where you're using little tweezers to build up a fire. When you're playing the normal multiplayer mode, as you put the pieces on, if you knock over any existing pieces already on there, you lose the game. You play until you're the last person there. In this simple dexterity game, you start with a campfire card and a few logs on it. On your turn, you draw a card, and using tweezers, create the pattern of logs and fire shown. Then you place what you built onto the fire stack. Some cards allow you to use your dominant hand. Other cards require you to use your non-dominant hand. Each player takes a turn. The first to knock over the fire stack loses. You could, and this isn't official, you can also play cooperatively, where you try to get through the entire stack of cards that tells you what you have to build. If you make it through, then everybody wins. Great. And that's how you can play it solo. You can play it solo by building the fire yourself, by flipping over the cards and trying not to knock the whole thing over. A simple morning challenge over a cup of hot cocoa. All right, let's check out our last game. Harley? Let's keep it in the nature family with harmonies. And straight up, this is another one like Cascadia, where I hear all about it. Everybody seems to love it. I see pictures of it. It doesn't interest me in the slightest. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I played it. So this is 1 to 4 players, designed by Johan Benvenuto, art by Maeva Desquiva. I hope I said it right. Silva, forgive me. Published by Libellud Games. This is similar to Cascadia, where I think this is a great entry point. Now, that doesn't mean if you're experienced. If you're experienced, you're still going to love these games. But this is a good entry point for new players, either for solo play or multiplayer, as you can learn it in less than 5 minutes. Honestly, you can read the back of the box and you understand enough to get started playing. But then, of course, there's intricacies you can learn as you keep going. I keep talking enough. The theme carries just a little more than Cascadia, maybe due to the artwork or the way that the landscapes just look a little more cohesive than they do in Cascadia. You may want to argue with me on that. Maybe they're about the same. Gameplay-wise, it plays largely like an abstract game does, even though there's a theme. You're creating a landscape, filling it with fields and rivers and buildings and mountain ranges, trees of all different heights, shrubbery, trying to create different patterns. Did you hear that voice crack? Because I sure did. I felt it. Boy, what fun. Puberty. Anyway, you create certain patterns of landscape to draw animals and then place those animals. So some might want to be in a field or in a river because it's a fish, and that makes sense. Anyway, you create the landscape, place the animals, gain points for it. Person at the end with the most points wins. On your turn, grab a group of landscape tokens and place them in your landscape following the placement rules. You can make trees taller, mountains taller, and even place buildings low or high. After you've placed your tokens, you can take an animal card from the display and put it above your board. If your landscape tokens match an animal pattern, place that animal in your landscape. This gains you points. Play until you run out of landscape tokens, or until your board is nearly full and the game ends. Score points for landscape patterns and animals placed. Solo game plays almost exactly the same as a multiplayer game with 1 or 2 simple rule changes that you apply. There is no achievement system, so this is a beat your own score game only, which means it's going to be a little more chill out. There's not as much to really delve into as something like Cascadia, so just have your coffee in the morning, play a game, enjoy it. You can get a good 10 solo plays out of this. Harley, a little help cleaning, please. Thank you. And there you go. 7 must-have cozy games for 2025 and every year after, unless we update this video. Some homework for you. That's right. Mr. Gray assigns homework. So, of these 7 games, I would like for you to pick 3. Which 3 would you play if you could only play those 3 games? Or, if you must replace, which one of these games would you replace and with what? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments because that's the fun part for me is talking to you. As always, I love you all. I'll see you next time.
Sitting in the cafe, sipping on a latte, writing in my notebook. Then I got my first look at you, slipping by me like breakfast at Tiffany's. Earrings dangling, your name must be Audrey.